Welcome to the Self-Storage Show, where I have conversations with my industry friends, talk with owners and vendors, and share tales about my management company, 3 Mile Storage. Let's go. Hey everyone, so I just finished putting together this new book, 3 Mile Storage Management, 3 Zones of Excellence. This is our framework for success in self-storage. Want a free copy? Okay, here's the deal. Book a strategy session with me. Together we're going to walk your business through the 3 Zones of Excellence framework. And I've done countless sessions like these over the years with many self-storage owners. I guarantee you that together, we're going to reveal some ways to increase your leads, rentals, and revenue. So go to 3milestorage.com and book your time today. Hey everyone, this is Jim Ross with the Self-Storage Show. I got a good episode for you this time. I've been not like the other ones haven't been good, but this is an especially good one. I've been trying to get Mr. Dean Booty on the show for a long time. Finally, our schedules have worked out, and all the overseas stuff with the time change. Hey, we made it happen, Dean. So what's up, man?
We got there. I'm awesome, Jim. How are you? And thank you very much for having me on. I genuinely think it's a massive, massive honor. It's a career highlight for me.
Good. No, we've been around the same circles for it's been a number of years now. I was trying to think right before you jumped on here, like when you came on my radar, or what came on your radar, how it happened. I can't remember if it was like a challenge I was doing or something like that.
Well, I love self-development. I love learning about the industry. And we opened our first site in 2012. And that was our first outdoor site. And I was trying to learn as much as possible. My first big site, we opened in 2016. And I remember, honestly, Jim, I have so much to thank you for. And you said, don't mention anything, but genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all the content you put out, because you've been a massive inspiration for me. I only do price increases because of what you said like 8 or 9 years ago. And I was like, price increases? Can you do Wait a second. I started genuinely doing price increases because of you. And now I teach price increases to everybody, revenue management, and it all stemmed from you and your podcast. So genuinely, thank you so much, buddy.
Good. That makes me feel good. I appreciate that. You never know. You could say something 10,000 times, but you never know when someone's going to tune into one certain episode. You could say it a certain way that hits and creates that spark, and then boom, okay, then they start implementing it in their storage business and they never look back. So I appreciate
I just presumed that people came on a rate and that was the only rate we charged them, even though inflation, etc. I look back and people were still paying the same price that they did when they came in 3 and 4 years ago. And I was like, wait a minute, Jim's got something here. But I always give you credit, buddy, on my podcast as well. I always say that it all came from Jim Ross.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's awesome. And speaking of your podcast, that's kind of what I want to have you come on as well. You're doing the newsletter and doing the podcast and getting your own content out there as well, and your consistency. Holy cow! I mean, that's one thing I gotta tip my hat off to you. Just the consistency of what you're putting out there has been amazing. This is kind of like documenting your journey.
Yeah, I love it. On a Monday morning, it's my favorite time of the day. So I drop my kids off at school and I go for a little walk to the coffee shop, to Starbucks or Costa. Costa's like a Starbucks in the UK. And I sit there for maybe 3 or 4 hours, and I've already pre-written some headlines like implied affordability, 6.5%. And then I'll map it out, write something on it. It'll go in the newsletter 1 month and it'll go on the podcast another month. And I just schedule it like that. And yes, I try to batch that week on a Monday morning or the week later, and then I come back home in the afternoon, record the podcasts, and that's so. Although it looks like a lot of like a Monday to Friday daily podcast and Monday to Friday daily newsletter, which I document all my results in every single one of my sites, it's not really that much work. It looks a lot, but I sit in a coffee shop on my own with my headphones in, listening to some music, and I write the content. I absolutely love it. It's great.
That's so cool. And I'm sure you probably attest to this, but as you're doing that and kind of documenting your journey, you almost kind of force yourself to become better, because you're looking at it, you're forcing yourself to analyze your business. You're like, oh, and it's these little details sometimes I think might get overlooked a lot of times. Yeah. You're doing it that way. It's like, okay, that's actually been impactful. And you want to start talking about it, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah, 100%. It does keep me accountable. Like I like to go for walks during the daytime. I like to try and get as many steps in as possible. And everyone just thinks I've got an easy life because they see me walking around Beverly, my hometown. But literally, I'm listening, I'm learning, I'm listening to your podcast, AJ's podcast, every single self-storage podcast there is out there. I am listening to it, and then I read books and try to educate myself. And I see my job as trying to learn as much information as possible. And then if maybe 2 or 3 things a week I might learn that we can then implement into our sites, and that makes a big difference. It might be a whole new sales process that I've heard about, and I give Angela or the managers a call and say, listen, why don't we try it doing like this? And so I see my job as, like Tony Robbins says, like a knowledge broker for my team. I learn, they implement, they do what they're good at, because I am not very good at a lot of things, but I enjoy listening and learning and educating myself. So then I get a reason to do it by documenting it. So yeah, it's almost like gives us a reason, a permission to do it.
No, I love it. And probably should have started off the podcast this way, but people are listening. They're like, "Oh, where's that accent from? Where are you zooming in from?" Let's give a little background here.
Yeah, so I'm from England, and I started my first site in 2012. We had one site in 2012. It took me a little bit of time to realize that self storage was the way to go. It was just a very relatively easy business because I had a coffee shop and a restaurant at the same time,
Oh,
and
wow.
it honestly took me about 4 years to realize that was taking up 95% of my time, and the storage was taking up 5% of my time. The storage was paying 100% of my wages. I was getting nothing from the restaurant. In fact, the storage was giving the restaurant money. And then finally, I looked and I thought, this has got to change. So I sold the restaurant, and then sold the restaurant within 6 months. I had another self storage, and now we've got 5 self storages in and around England. We've got 4 in England, 1 in Wales, and we're soon to be opening 1 in Scotland as well, because there's such an opportunity in the UK. Like I mentioned to you before, your square foot per capita is massive compared to us. We're 0.78 square foot per capita, and people at the minute are still in England. We live in this like little bubble where people are still complaining about the competition. It's getting so competitive. AdWords are getting. I was like, because I'm in the masterminds in America was for self-storage, and I listen to you guys and I'm like, no, this is an amazing time for us in the UK. Yes, it's not as good as it was 5 years ago, but I promise you that you'll look back on this time in 5 years and think, holy moly, we had such an opportunity and we complained then. So it's all relative, but we always seem to think that the previous years was the best, when in reality, I think it's an amazing opportunity what we've got in the UK. But I don't want everybody to come across from America and open in the UK. But it's good times in England.
All right. I always think of when here in the U.S. when people are talking about the competition, like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And yes, it is everywhere, and it's getting higher and higher competition. But I have a site that I talk about it off and on. It's the same location that got me into storage. It's the first site that I ever managed that got me into storage like 25 years ago, something like that now. And now I manage it with my third-party management company. Anyway, in the 3-mile radius, so my direct competition, we got 54 competitors. And it just, so everything I talk about, I always put it through that lens of, hey, if it can work for this site, it's going to work for you and your 4 or 5 competitors, And it's,
oh my God,
it's
I don't often get speechless, but that is crazy. To give you an example, I live in a town with 33,000 population. When I first opened up, there was no self-storage in that town. No self. But the thing is, obviously, the current report in the UK suggests that 51% of people in the UK have heard of self-storage, 49% haven't. So there is a fact that in America, the industry is more well known, but it's still a great opportunity. Now in the same area, in Beverly, we've got 5-6 competitors now, and because I put everything out there. I tell you my my revenue. I tell you my conversions. I literally tell you everything about my business. And my landlord, because we lease the land. It was coming to the end of the lease, and we couldn't contact him to renew. And finally, we went around to his house and said, "Look, what's happening? Can we renew for 20 years? Because it's quite normal in the UK to lease the land." And so he said, "Look, I'll be honest with you. We're trying to kick you out because we want to open a self-storage because we've heard your podcast." I'm like, no. Long story short, he couldn't kick me out, but he has opened a quarter of a mile down the road from us, and we're still 90%. He's doing well as well. There was enough supply and demand. It worked. The demand was okay. So I've got nothing against him doing that because it's business at the end of the day. It's not personal. It's business, and things happen.
I know, like you create your own competition, but that's also the name of the game too. I mean, you're about building value and being full transparency, just putting it out there, and people can learn from it. And yes, that's kind of a double-edged sword at times. They might use that and be like, "Oh, I'm going to start storage," just like what you just experienced. But
Yeah,
I think the
absolutely.
benefit you get out of it, for the most part, of just giving back to the industry that's given you so much, is fantastic. So that's awesome.
Well, I wanted to tell you that it was because of you that we do price increases because it's amazing. I genuinely I got 2 messages yesterday saying, Dean, thank you so much. You've changed our business. It's gone from this to that. And I love it. And so you must get them all the time because you've been doing this a lot longer than me. And so I thought, you know what? I love it when people say that to me. And so I'm going to tell Jim because Jim is literally the reason why that one, I started doing a podcast. And number 2, why that we started doing revenue increases and price increases and stuff. And yeah, it's massively changed our business.
No, that's awesome. It's great to hear that kind of feedback and just knowing that it's actually impactful and people are listening. That's even better. And for your operations, I've been listening to your podcast and watching newsletters and things like that. And you're doing the remote management model for all the locations, or for like a hub and spoke? I'm trying to.
No, so what it is was so we've got 5 locations. The Beverly site is completely manless. When I say completely manless, you do obviously need boots on the ground, as you guys call it. So we have a handyman, and then that handyman will literally go around and sweep the units out, because the Beverly site, the first one, is a lot like your sites, and the Willoughby one it's a 30,000 square foot building, but we put a mezzanine floor in, which meant it's 60,000 square foot. But then we can fit, it's got half an acre of land, so we've got 52 containers as well. So in the UK, it's a big old site, but in America, I've learned that it's not actually that big for you guys. Yeah. And we in that site there, we've got a reception, and we've got 4 full-time members of staff there, and that's like our central hub. So all the calls will come into that location. We bought a site in Wales, which is a 3.5-hour drive, because again, in the UK, we consider a 3.5-hour drive like the other end of the country. Everybody thinks it's crazy that we are buying something so far away. But then when I listen to you guys, and you consider it local if you can drive in a day, and I feel like that we've got, because our country is quite small, we've got limiting beliefs, and it's great to listen to you guys and think, well, 3.5 hours, that is local. And then so we bought that site off a couple who was retiring, and we made it manless, and it's been so seamless, because that site could only open, you could only get access to your stuff 3.5 days a week, and that was when the elderly couple was there. And now we put PTI on and etc. to make sure that people can get in 24 hours a day, and we're not there, but we're at the end of a phone call anytime. Again, we've got a handyman who's there, and we've got a cleaning company who comes. So if anybody needs us, we can literally be there in an hour, worst case scenario, because someone's always on call, and the customers prefer it because they can get access 24 hours a day instead of 3.5 days a week. So so we've got one site is manned, and the rest are completely manless at the minute, which again, in the UK, all the big boys, all the REITs, none of them are manless yet, and I'm sure they're going to start doing it, but they aren't yet.
That's what I was going to ask, if that's starting to kind of trend that way, or what you're seeing now, because that's everywhere out here.
So
the big boys are trying to push that as well, so it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, in the UK, honestly, all we've got to do is watch what you guys do, and just do it here, and then we're ahead of the game. It's like a cheat code. And so Safe Store, Dave Davies is one of my consultants, but he comes around, and so he said to me, I was with him last week, so he was coming around my sites, just making sure that I'm not missing anything, because when you're in the weeds, you can't see everything. So I've always got outside consultancies helping me, and he was telling me that Safe Store now are just starting these little satellite sites. So that's like the biggest, they've got the most sites in the UK, and it's between them and Big Yellow. But Big Yellow say, we've got more square foot, and they say we've got more sites, and they're now starting to open satellite sites site, so slightly smaller, but manless, and they're just testing it, and so testing the waters to see what if it is possible. But there's a company called UK Storage in England that have just sold for many decamillions, and they was all manless. They had like 26 sites or something manless, but they went under the radar. They wasn't public about it, but obviously me being a self-storage geek, I just Google all different operators, and I saw that what they was doing, their model, and they was doing big sites manless, and it was working. So I thought, well, if it's working for them, let's test it. Let's see what happens. And yeah, it's been very, very good at the minute. But the key thing is trying to have somebody that you can call on when something goes wrong. So if you've got boots on the ground there that can go within, a couple of hours, and then it's a win. As long as you have a processor in place, and yeah, it's a win.
Of course. It's just interesting to watch how it's all playing out. So again, if we can be your cheat code, cool. We'll do it. We'll be that. And again, that's what I try to do as well, is kind of saying what you're doing, but just kind of talking about it. When I started going manless, I don't know, 4 years ago by now, something like that. Just talking about it. And I wrote a book about it, for hell's sakes, and been like, hey, this is what I'm doing, check this out. Here's the blueprint. And now it's almost that's almost like the first thing that people look at when they're looking at open up a storage, is like, cool, can we do it remotely in manless? That's like the first option. And then they're looking at doing manless. So it's kind of been fun to watch how that operation philosophy has switched over the last few years.
Did COVID accelerate that for you guys?
100%,
change the game?
100%. Because of the customer behavior. I don't think it was so much from the operational point of view. They were forced to do it, and then they saw the customer behavior being like, oh, they like being able to rent online and not have to worry about calling and having access. And then they started customizing to how the customers were already wanting to do business that way. So it was fun to watch.
We had 2 bookings this morning. We walked. I got a message from the team saying that 2 people booked overnight. And so before, maybe a year or 2 ago, it was unheard of in the UK to have bookings online, and now people are just starting to do it. But yeah, it's incredible, the technology out there. We've got to utilize it, haven't we? We've got to meet the customers where they are, where they want to be met.
That's great. Well, for everything because I'm always trying to play with stuff and just kind of try new things. Everything I try out, I'll send your way, and I'll be the guinea pig, and I'll throw it your way, and you'll be even more ahead of the game. So
for anything you want, Jim, my way.
That'd be awesome. Real quick, you mentioned something and you just kind of glossed over it, but I want to hit on this real quick. You talked about Dave and coming and doing like a little consult with you, and tell Dave hi. I haven't talked to Dave in a long time. Tell him hi. But I think that is something that more people need to do. Having that third party, non-biased, coming in with like a new set of eyes, looking at your operations, it's extremely beneficial. I was just kind of curious if you would mind just touching on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that what gets in people way a lot is their ego, because a lot of business owners, especially the business owners that I know, my personal friends who are in different industries, they always make fun of me how much I spend on coaches. There's a very famous coach in the UK called Dan Bradbury, and I pay him, it's like £40,000 a year, and all I get is a 1 hour phone call every other week with him. But he's changed the landscape of my business. And if there's any self-storage consultant in the UK, I will literally get on the phone with him and just pay him, because there's always something you can learn. And I saying to Dave, I don't consider it a cost. I consider it an investment, because even if I don't get anything for 3 or 4 hours, and then maybe that 10 minutes, that person will say something to me that'll change my game, change my business. I remember Anne Ballard. I had her on my podcast, and I said, Anne, is there any way you can do some consultancy for me? She goes, I don't normally do it, Dean, but I will do it for you. And she gave me such great information. For example, refunds in the UK, we always give refunds. And now we don't give refunds. That on average has changed my business by £16,000 a facility. So it is great. And so the return on investment, just that one little bit of advice, I was like, Anne, I can't do that. People expect refunds in the UK. No, they don't, Dean. You think they do, but they don't. I'm like, no, I can't do it. And it took me a year to implement it, and nobody complained. I'm like, I was just giving money away. And now slowly people are starting to do, it's like Netflix. If you cancel your Netflix, then what's going to happen? You're not going to get a refund for the days you don't use. And so we just use that model because everybody understands that and everybody's absolutely fine with it. And so, yeah, I would 100% recommend consultancy, coaches, because you don't know what you don't know. You can't see what you can't see. And as soon as Dave says something to me, I'm like, yeah, I do know it, but I couldn't see it because it was mine. If I went to somebody else's business, I could probably see that and notice that. But because I'm inside the business, I can't see it. So yeah, I 100% recommend that. Just try it, because what's the worst that can happen? Then I 100% think you're going to get a return on that investment, many, many multiples over.
Oh, seriously. And here's a little hack as well. Again, I'm all
for notepad.
I'm all for having outside people coming in as well. But what's to stop you from listening to this podcast right now, hitting pause, and just say, okay, if act as if you are a consultant on your own business, and just doing that one little phrase in your mind, it puts you in a different state of mind when you're working through something. It's really interesting. I've kind of done that little trick for many years now, and it's like, just act as if you're an outside consultant. Here's the problem. What advice would you give? And it's so weird, but just having that little flip of mentality.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, Jim. Yeah, and absolutely 100% right. That little, then you see things just that little different, and that can make all the difference.
Yep, totally. Well, man, we could be doing this all the time. It would be fantastic. I want to be mindful of your time as well. But I know we keep alluding to the newsletter and stuff. Before we take off, would you mind, how would people find your newsletter to get signed up?
Yeah, I love it. So it's mrselfstorage.com. So mrselfstorage.com. And just put in your email address, completely free, Monday to Friday. I tell you the previous day's results, how much square foot moved in, the quotes, the conversions. And then on a Monday, I run down the week in numbers, how much we took, our conversions. I dive into it, what's good, what's bad, what we like, what we don't like, my worries, but the things that are going well. Because there's always two sides to a business. There's always something you can be positive about, but then there's always something you can worry about. And it keeps me accountable, but it also keeps me balanced as well, because I don't want to be too negative, but I don't want to be too positive. And so, yeah, I love just sharing that. And every single day I do a self-storage tip as well, or a business tip, because I love reading business books and stuff. So anything that I found useful and helpful in my business, then I just write about it. And yeah, absolutely love it so far. So yeah, mrselfstorage.com, head on over there and put your email address in, and I'll be bugging you every single morning.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks so much, Dean. We'll do this again, man.
Jim, thank you so much, buddy. Really enjoyed it.
All right, take care.
Same to you, pal.
Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder. Do you want to level up your storage game? Visit theselfstorageshow.com. Grab some high-value freebies, check out top vendor spotlights, and stay in the loop with our newsletter. Do you want to chat about becoming a client with 3 Mile Storage Management? All the info's there. Plus, if you've got a story to share, we're listening. Everything you need is at theselfstorageshow.com.